5 settings to regain control of your iPhone. Every so often, I find myself void of the motivation, attention, and focus needed to drive me towards long-term goals. I know I want to further my knowledge through reading books and completing educational courses. I know I want to better my health through working out every day and meal prepping every single week. And I know I want to work on this, my health sciences, full-time. But consistently performing the actions that lead to these long-term goals can be difficult to maintain. I can lose my focus and my motivation dissipates. And it's times like these that make me wonder, where did all that original drive go? Lately, I've started to see a correlation between these lapses in drive. iPhone screen time usage. The more time I'm spending on my phone in the past 7 days is usually a pretty good indicator for how much drive I have today. The less screen time, the more drive I have. The more screen time, the less drive I have. And that made me wonder, was it my increase in screen time that was causing my lack of drive? Or was it my lack of drive that was causing an increase in screen time? Well, each time I place my phone in a separate room and cut myself off from its distractions, I don't stay idle too long. I inevitably find something to do and prefer those activities that lead towards my long-term goals. But when I bring my smartphone back in the room and put it next to me, I find it much more difficult to work. I'll reach down for my phone for maybe a 30-second mood boost looking for something on Instagram, and then all of a sudden, my drive is gone again. This has led me to believe that it's the screen time usage that's causing my lack in drive. But why is this? Well, in some ways, our phone is like a drug. When we consume the entertaining content on a phone, we receive a quick rush of dopamine. This is the short-term pleasure-causing hormone that makes us feel happy. And our brains become rewired to recognize that every time we're void of pleasure, a quick grab of the phone and a funny meme later, and we're back to being pleased and happy again. So each time we're experiencing friction in our life or attempting to complete a challenging task, our brain remembers that our phone is just a quick solution to making us feel better. And why would we prefer to complete challenging tasks for delayed gratification when we know that our phone is just instant gratification waiting to be swiped on? It's this battle that slowly eats away at not only my drive, but all of our drive. And it's a trend that's becoming increasingly common. For years now, our screen time on mobile phones has increased. In 2014, we averaged about 2.5 hours per day looking at our screens. Now in 2020, we're about 4 hours, almost double that amount. And it's only being exacerbated by the current COVID-19 pandemic, where all of us are at home looking for entertainment, mostly online. But it's not like we're spending all of our time on smartphones in one large chunk, like watching a movie on a TV. We're spending it like a chain smoker looking for that next dopamine hit. We're looking at our phone dozens of times a day in small segments from 30 seconds to up to 30 minutes at a time. The problem with this is that it ruins our productivity and our drive. A study out of the University of California, Irvine showed that it takes about 23 minutes to regain the deep focus we had once we've already become distracted. So when I'm creating content for My Health Sciences or you're working on a challenging project, that quick 30 seconds that we take to look at our phones may have a lot larger effect than we think. And when you look at our actual screen time chart, you'll see very few opportunities for uninterrupted deep focus time because of the frequency at which we pick up our phones. And a lot of the time we pick up our phone to perform a 30-second task, but we end up looking at one email, 2 Facebook comments, 50 Instagram reels, and all of a sudden we've lost all the momentum we had in whatever we were originally doing. It's because of this that I've decided to regain control of my iPhone. Without the proper measures in place, it can be so easy to fall into the trap of just looking at endless, entertaining, but unproductive, useless content for hours at a time. So here are the 5 settings I've found most useful in regaining control of my iPhone. Number 1, limit and turn off notifications. These notifications are not only distracting, but they change how you use your phone. For example, with your notifications off, you decide consciously and intentionally when you want to pick up that phone and when you want to look at different apps or different content. With notifications on though, app developers are now deciding when they want to send you notifications, which are going to trigger when you use your phone, how you use your phone, and why you use your phone. And when you allow app developers to control when you pick up your phone, that's when you start to see this increased usage because they want you on their app as much as possible. So that's why I recommend turning off as many notifications as you possibly can. Personally, I have notifications turned off for almost all of my apps. I leave messages on mostly because I'm not that big of a texter, I don't receive that many notifications. I also leave calls on. If something's important, I obviously don't want to miss it. But I do turn notifications off for emails, which this might be confusing for most, but honestly, if there's been a big enough issue at work, someone gives me a call and I haven't missed out on any big issues. Notifications are obviously my number one and biggest recommendation because that's really what drives you to constantly pick up your phone and check out on what you might be missing, this fear of missing out. 2, lately I found app limits to be quite helpful. This feature allows you to limit how much time you spend on an app per day. I use TikTok and follow some quality creators, but after about 5 minutes of swiping through quality content, I've noticed that the algorithm transitions me to watching very unproductive content, like maybe a cat doing yoga on Mars. And then I've realized like maybe I shouldn't be watching this anymore. And so that's where I've found app limits to be quite useful. There's some apps that provide quality content, but as you start going through it, the algorithm transitions you to more entertaining content that's less productive. So by putting the app limit in place, after a certain amount of time, you get notified of your usage. And this provides you with just a general awareness of how long you've been on the app. And then you can say, yeah, it's been 10 minutes of me using this app. I'm no longer getting the content that I was looking for. I can now exit out of it, and then I'm done using it for the day. This allows you to still enjoy the apps and content you like without just getting consumed and lost in it. 3, schedule downtime. This can be quite useful for, say, a work day where you want to have a lot of time of deep focus, or maybe you just want to have a technology-free Saturday. I've seen that quite useful too. You can schedule downtime for those work days or technology-free Saturdays, and then you don't have to worry about notifications or that urge to just pick up your phone and remember, like, did I water my garden in Animal Crossing? Which I did, so that's not something I have to worry about, but I've seen many people use this with great success. Number 4, organize your home screen to only show tools that are useful for you. For example, on my iPhone's home screen, I have a widget of the weather app, so I never need to go into the app really. I can mostly see anything I want on that widget. I then have my calendar, my clock, my camera, and my calculator, just tools that are waiting there ready to be used whenever I need them. And at the bottom dock, I just have my messages, phone calls, email, and Safari browser. And those are just common apps that I use that aren't too addicting for me. But by removing social media apps, news, games from my home screen, I'm just less likely to search for or swipe and try to find these other apps that may not be as productive as the tools that are just sitting there waiting to be used when I need them. And lastly, number 5, removing apps and unfollowing accounts. If you're finding apps that aren't that useful and you're not able to control your usage, maybe say Snapchat, for example, where you're constantly sending snaps back and forth to people, but never really having that true in-depth conversation, try deleting these apps altogether. There's much more efficient ways to communicate with people. Or if you find yourself following accounts on social media, so you have an old friend that's become highly political, or friends that just hate their job and are constantly complaining, and those accounts aren't providing you with any benefit to your life or day, and they're only dragging you down, unfollow these accounts. Remove these apps, because a lot of the time we become the content we consume. So let's start being intentional and deciding which kind of content we want to see and how we want to be influenced. With our mobile screen time usage increasing every single year and its unproductive effects now coming into view, it's time we start taking control of our iPhone. These phones can be a tool used to live a more efficient and effective life when we're in control of them. But when we let outside influencers and app developers control how and why we use our phone, that's when we start to see the detrimental effects to our health and our happiness. That's why I recommend implementing these 5 steps to regain control of your iPhone. Disable notifications, set app limits, schedule downtime, organize your home screen, and unfollow accounts. These steps will allow you to live a more intentional and conscious life. A life that's happier and healthier. If you like this video, tap the like button down below, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, subscribe to my content. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.